Hey, I'm not someone that you typecast to head to the clubs. Never was into that sort of thing. But I've watched enough movies or TV shows where you have the bouncer dude dressed in the black with bulging muscles, and he's standing at the entrance to the doorway of the club, and all that stands between him and the dressed up crowd of clubbers are the velvet ropes. And those velvet ropes represent the division between those who are ordinary and those who are extraordinary, those who have not. Getting past the velvet ropes makes people like us, well, feel extra special, especially if there's lots and lots of people waiting on the other side. Now, I've heard, again, I don't know, but I've heard that clubs actually have an assistant doorman whose job it is to go up and down the line and scout for, interesting, nice-looking folks, right? Now, if you're lucky, maybe you'll be discovered while you're there waiting. Now, I remember when I was a young boy, I won't forget it. My dad took me to an athletic event, just to be self-disclosing. It was only at our local high school. It wasn't like at, where the Lakers play or where the Clippers play. And he was a teacher at that high school, but you still had to line up. And they had the velvet-covered ropes. We were nearly at the very front of the line. We got there early. My dad wanted to make sure we had the best of seats for this, I think it was a basketball game, and then it happened. This hulk of a man who had been standing on the other side of the ropes, he reached down. I watched his hand, and he unlatched the rope, and as soon as it was open, as a youngster, I started to push my way past the dude, but the dude said these words quite sternly to my dad. He said, "Sir, stop your son now. Please stop your son." And then he said it. He said, "He's not allowed in yet." And right at that time, there were about 50 or so people that this big man let in front of us. And I remember saying really loud as a little kid, "It's not fair. Why do they get to go in?" And my dad looked down at me and he said, "They get to go in because they're special." So, not only was I not allowed to go in, but now it was made very clear to me that as a youngster, I was not one of the special people. I didn't have access. I wasn't a VIP. I didn't receive the same honor as those who went before me. Now, I don't know about you, but many times since that day, I think about me and the thoughts swirl around and they go like this. I'm not getting the kind of respect, the kind of honor, the kind of love, the kind of props that I think I deserve, that I should get. I think about that sometimes in marriage. I'm not that special. Sometimes in friendships, I'm not that special. Sometimes in my career, I'm not that special. And some of you, the truth is, some of you think the very same thoughts. And here's what I'm learning these days. Honor initiates. We collectively have a chance, you and I, to change the course of life. See, these days it seems as if everyone is descending into dishonor. It's just seemingly what we do now as a society, as a culture. And it's so important that you get this today, that we, by God's grace, can bring honor back to everyone we encounter. I mean, you know what? Everything goes better with honor. Marriage goes better with honor. Families go better with honor. Jobs go better with honor. Friendships go better with honor. School classrooms go better with honor. Teams go better with honor. Driving goes better with honor. Grocery shopping goes better with honor. And get this, fast food drive-through ordering, it goes better with honor. You name it. Everything goes better with honor. Honor is our ally. We should be carriers of honor because we've never, ever locked eyes with someone. We've never had a conversation with someone. We've never been in a situation with someone who is not honored by the God of the universe. See, I want to talk to you a little bit about bringing honor back. I want to talk to you about how we can bring honor into every situation and every conversation that we are exposed to. And I'm going to talk to you about it I hope is an interesting way, because I'm going to describe to you a person in the Bible who was highly unusual. See, this person had a strange set of circumstances in his life. His name is one of the most difficult names to pronounce in the Bible. The guy that I'm actually talking about, you probably never heard of. His name is Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth. Now, this guy had a unique life. Let me give you a little summary of this young man's life. For you to understand the context of the story of honor, you've got to understand the environment of what was happening during his day and time. Now, how do you honor somebody who everyone else sees as dishonorable? How do you honor somebody who's easy to ignore, even societally? How do you do that? How do you honor somebody who isn't someone that you even want to respect? Now, let me tell you, if you wait to respect someone, to honor someone, you'll never be a carrier of honor. Okay, you ready? Here's the story. It's a true story. It's a historical story. Now you have two kings, okay, just to set the scene, King Saul and King David. When you hear the word king, think president, okay? King Saul, King David. First, King Saul, who is the king of Israel at this particular time, he was God's appointed. Now Saul had a son named Jonathan. Okay, you following with me? And Jonathan was the rightful heir to the throne. God, though, went around Jonathan and anointed another young man, his name is David, as the future king of Israel. Now, amazingly, this is so amazing. Jonathan and David were actually best of friends. They had this incredible connection. They had a commitment with one another. They loved one another. They were all about honor. And 1 Samuel 18, verses 1 through 9 says it this way. After David had finished talking with Saul, remember Saul's the king, he met Jonathan, the king's son, and there was an immediate bond between them. For Jonathan loved David. From that day on, Saul kept David with him and wouldn't let him return home. And Jonathan made a solemn pact with David because he loved him as he loved himself. Now, whatever Saul asked David to do, David did it successfully. So Saul made him a commander over the men of war, an appointment that was welcomed by the people and Saul's officers alike. When the victorious Israelite army was returning home after David had killed the Philistine, for those of you who don't know much about the Bible, the Philistine is Goliath. The women from the towns of Israel, they actually came out to meet King Saul, and they sang and they danced for joy with tambourines and cymbals. They're dancing. This was their song. Listen now, friends. Saul has killed his thousands, and David his tens of thousands. And this made Saul very angry. What's this? He said. They credit David with tens of thousands and me with only thousands? Next, they'll be making the dude their king. So from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. So now let's review the story. David honored Jonathan, and Jonathan honored David. But Saul had a problem with dishonor. He dishonored David at every turn and in every way. Why? Because Saul was envious and jealous of David, trying to kill him, trying to go after him. Well, look at this in 1 Samuel 18. It says, David continued to succeed in everything he did, for the Lord was with him. When Saul recognized this, he became even more afraid of David. But all of Israel and Judah loved David because he was so successful at leading his troops into battle. And one day Saul said to David, I'm ready to give you my older daughter Merab as your wife, but first you must prove yourself to be a real warrior by fighting the Lord's battles. Here's what Saul thought. I'll send him out against the Philistines and let them kill him rather than doing it myself. And I could give you example after example of David's honoring Saul and Saul dishonoring David. And what had happened is one day God took his hand off the family of Saul, and get the civil war broke out in Israel. And King Saul was killed. And sadness upon all sadness for David's for David, because Saul's son Jonathan, which is David's best friend, was also killed. So everything in the country at that time is in total chaos after this. I mean, everything in the land of Israel. David becomes the king because the people wanted him to be king. And during all this chaos, this is what happened. 2 Samuel chapter 4, verse 4 said, Jonathan, son of Saul, had a son who was lame in both feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel. So, okay, you ready? Now we got this. So just some of the character actors here. We got Saul, David, and Jonathan. And now we had another thing to the picture is Jonathan has a little 5-year-old kid, and he's a part of Saul's family. Now, his dad is Jonathan. Now, this kid's name is Mephibosheth, and Mephibosheth, get this, hears that his dad has been killed. Now, what's a 5-year-old going to do? He's got nothing but his maid. She hears that the kid's grandfather, who's the king, has also been killed. And it says, look at this, his nurse picked him up. That's like a maid, a nanny, an au pair. His nurse picked him up and fled. She's getting out of Jerusalem. But as she hurried to leave, it says she fell and Mephibosheth, becomes crippled. So there's no medical attention. There's no ambulances. There's no paramedics. Just a little boy dropped. Mephibosheth is dropped. His legs horribly broken, crippled, lame, physically challenged. Now, maybe you as a person can identify with the situation. Now, maybe it's physically, maybe it's emotionally, maybe financially, maybe relationally, maybe career. It's like you've been dropped. It's like you're feeling crippled. It's like you're feeling emotionally lame or financially lame. They're just not going right for you right now, right? And the Bible says that Mephibosheth, get this, was taken by the au pair, the nanny, the maid, was taken to an area called Lo-Debar. Now, in the language of the Old Testament portion of the Bible, which is Hebrew, Lo-Debar means no pasture. So, this is just a dry, arid desert. There's just no pasture. So while all this is going on, all this is in the backdrop, right? David takes the throne. And among all this craziness, as David takes the throne, one would think that David, he's finally sitting on the throne. He's in his Oval Office. Okay, one would think that David would go, yeah, I made it. Now it's time for me. Come on, for me to receive honor. Everybody, bow down before me. Everybody, honor me. It's my time to receive the respect I deserve. I'm the man of the hour. So everyone, pay attention to me, honor me. You'd think that, right? He's the king. It's like our president, right? That's what most of us would do. Yeah, I'm the man, I'm the woman, right? But check out what David did. Check out the first thing David did as the king of Israel. It wasn't about the military. It wasn't about the economy. In 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 1, here's what David asked. Listen, look at this. Is there anyone left of Saul's family? Is there anyone left of Saul's family? If so, I'd like to show him some kindness in, what's the word? In honor of Jonathan. He was asking the question, who can I honor? Who can I show respect to? I find this fascinating. Because the paparazzi's following David everywhere he goes. There are limos. There's these long, huge motorcades. David, who for years had been dishonored by Saul. David, who was taking the reins of the administration that was all about dishonor and jealousy and backbiting and hatred and betrayal. Finally, that's all gone. And now it can be all about him. And David steps up and goes, who can I honor? What a question. That's a principle for all of us today in the 21st century. The principle is this. Get up in the morning and make your first thought, who can I show honor to today? It all begins with one simple question, yet it does no good if the question is never asked by you or asked by me. Who can I show honor to today? Every day we should ask that question. Who can I show honor to? Ask the question, God, show me this day. Who can I honor? And by the way, can I just say this? Don't wait until someone's funeral. Bring honor into the situation now. 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 3 says, David, there's this crippled boy, a servant told him. His name is Mephibosheth. He's Jonathan's son. He's living in Lo-Debar. And David said, go get him. Now, let's just stop for a second. Think about Mephibosheth's family, okay? I mean, you talk about a family that has some serious problems. First off, he's born in a generational line, a family that's all about dishonor. Saul's grandson. He had this whole sin thing going, right? God had removed his hand from the family. And the family was also doomed because back in that day, when a new king would take over, what would the new king do? Can I tell you what he'd do? He'd kill anybody that had any relationship with the former king. It's just what they did in the Middle East. So not only was Mephibosheth and his maid scared, not only does he no longer have a grandpa or a dad, they're both dead, but in that day, he's in a horrific situation. He knew at any time, day or night, the knock on the door would come, and it'd be over for him. He was doomed. His family was doomed. They were dishonored, and they were doomed. Also, his maid, his nanny, his au pair, he and her, they're also destitute. They got nothing. One moment he had everything. He's living in the palace. The next moment, nothing. The place he's living in is called no pasture. He's living in the house of Machir. Machir in the Hebrew means sold. He's got nothing, destitute, living in extreme poverty. He's dishonored. His family was dishonored. He's doomed. His family was, and he's destitute. But notice, when it was all said and done, his family was deeply desired by the king. I mean, we're talking about King David, a man after God's own heart. Even though they were dishonored and doomed and destitute, David the king, the dude at the top of the organizational chart, the one who deserved all honor and respect in the kingdom, David reached out to restore dignity to this boy. This is a big, big deal. David said, I'm going to bring honor back to you, Mephibosheth. And David seeks Mephibosheth, and he calls the servant. The servant's name, by the way, is Ziba. And he says, go get the boy. So the knock on the door came. Mephibosheth, the kid who couldn't play and run with the other kids because he's crippled, Mephibosheth, who lost his dad and his grandpa all in one day, Mephibosheth had to be asking the question, God, why me? But now the knock on the door comes, and the maid or the au pair or the nanny and the boy are probably thinking, it's over. It's lights out. I mean, he sees Ziba, the king's servant, probably with all of the entourage that goes with it, and Ziba goes to the kid and the nanny, you're wanted in the Oval Office now. Put him in the chariot. So Mephibosheth limps into the Oval Office. Now I want you to notice how David speaks to him. Look at this, 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 6. This is totally and completely a God thing. When Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, came to David, he bowed down to pay him, which is David, honor. To pay him honor. See, Mephibosheth knew that his life was in David's hands. And he bows down to pay David some serious respect. Now notice this. This is so important. How David speaks to him. He calls the kid by name. And you got to think that when he called him by name, he more than likely saw his best friend Jonathan. Like in Mephibosheth's face, right? He saw that look in his eye, that expression. Had to bring back so many memories of his best friend Jonathan. And David seeks him out. He speaks to him. Now notice the next thing, he spares him. I mean, David should have killed the kid. David, you're a smart guy. I mean, you're a genius. The athleticism of LeBron James, the musical prowess of Beethoven or Taylor Swift, a military genius. Take him out. He might come back and take the throne away from you one day. David, have you lost your mind? But David spares him. He spares him. He saves him. And after he spares him, he shares with him his inheritance. Look at this. 2 Samuel 9 and 10. And it says, Mephibosheth, I'm giving you your inheritance from your grandfather and your father. I'm adopting you. You're going to eat at my table forever. You're my boy. Mephibosheth, I honor you. Now, Mephibosheth accepted this invitation, but you got to know, He wasn't expecting it, because just before this act of honor and respect, Mephibosheth actually said in 2 Samuel verse 8, he said, hey, what are you doing honoring me? I'm a dead dog. That's what he called himself. No self-worth, no value, no honor. What does that say to you and me? Well, I'll tell you right now, today in the 21st century, it says several things. But I want you, can you do this with me? Can you follow with me? I want you to go deep with me for a second, because Mephibosheth's family compares to the family of all of us as human beings. Mephibosheth's family is an illustration of humanity, and we are a part of that humanity. We're dishonored. We had honor in the garden, and man chose to rebel against God, to put himself above God, and we're living in dishonor. We dishonored God. We're doomed. The Bible says the wages of sin is death. See, the reason we die is because of sin. Everybody's going to die. 1 out of 1 dies. You're going to die. I'm going to die. And we die because of sin. The payment, the paycheck, the compensation for sin is death. We're doomed. You're going to die. I'm going to die. We live like we're not going to die, but we're going to die. It's going to happen. We're doomed to die. If we got what we deserve, it would be eternal separation from God. We deserve hell. What is hell? Hell is that forever feeling of utter regret. It's the opportunity to do anything and everything you've always wanted to do alone. That's what's in the cards for you and me. Hell. It's not popular to talk about these days. It doesn't sell books. It doesn't make people smile and clap and wave their hands. We're doomed. Now, I've got some other bad news. We're destitute. We can offer God nothing. Mephibosheth, he couldn't offer David jack squat, nothing. We can't offer God anything. You say, but I'm good, God, man. I'm a good girl. Hey, good isn't enough before a perfect God. Or you say, well, I'm religious. I grew up Catholic, or I grew up Baptist. I grew up Pentecostal. I grew up Lutheran. You can't be religious enough. At the end of the day, we're destitute. We can't offer God anything. God can't wink at sin or even look at sin. We are no different than Mephibosheth. We're in abject poverty, spiritual poverty, just like Mephibosheth's family. So we're dishonored, we're doomed, we're destitute, but here's the good news. Are you ready for some good news? And this is what makes the crossing unique. It's what our mission and vision is all about, because at the crossing, what makes our church unique is we really believe at this church that all human beings, let me say that again, all human beings are desired by God. I mean, it's hard to even wrap our brains around it. We're desired by God. We dishonored him. We're doomed. We're destitute. Yet we are desired by God, all people. And by the way, David is a type. He's a picture, if you will, of Jesus. And what does Jesus do? He seeks us. The Son of Man, Jesus, came to seek and save that which is lost. That's Luke 19:10. That's why we do what we do as a church. Our mission statement, the Crossing Church, seeks to help people explore faith and experience the life-changing ways of Jesus. And we do what we do because Jesus is our model. He's our example. He seeks us out. Amazing, huh? But Jesus also, he speaks to us. He calls you and me by name. And the psalmist says that God has even counted the number of tears that we've shed in our lives, and he has them in bottles. Isn't that amazing how much God knows you and knows me? He seeks us, he speaks to us, and he tells you and me how much we're loved, how much we're honored. The gospel, the good news, is all about honor. We were in a state of dishonor. God didn't hesitate. He participated. He sent Jesus to bring honor back. He seeks us. He speaks to us. He spares us. And what do we deserve? Hell. Eternal separation from God. That's what we deserve. God spares you and me by sending Jesus to die on a cross, literally for our dishonor, for all of our sin. He spares us. And then if we bow before him like Mephibosheth did, he shares with us his inheritance, his blessing, his power, his ability, his agenda, his plan, his purpose for your life and mine. And he says, dine at my table. You'll live forever. And forever starts right now. That's the deal on the table for you and me. But again, people have to choose it. Mephibosheth thought he was getting one thing, death, and he got another, life. He thought he was getting punished, but he got the palace. That's what's out there